From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello, I'm Nikesh Rugani and welcome to Stumped. I'm joined by the ABC's Jim Maxwell, who's in Perth, and Charu Sharma is in Bangalore for Akashvani. Now, India's men head into the second and final test against South Africa on November the 22nd on a run of 4 defeats from their last 6 home test matches. It's after the Proteas secured their first test win in India for 15 years with a 30-runs victory in a low-scoring thriller in Kolkata. There were real scenes of jubilation when the final wicket fell in front of a stunned crowd at Eden Gardens. Charu, after the first innings, India had a 30-run lead and the Proteas managed to flip that on its head. It sent shockwaves through the country. How has that loss gone down in India?
Very badly. And that too at the Eden Gardens. Now, there's no more sports-loving fan than the average West Bengal fan, the Bengali fan. They are mad, crazy, keen about sport. And to have this happen there at the Eden Gardens, the hallowed turf, the Eden Gardens, gosh, it was a real embarrassment. But not only at the end, I think the writing was on the wall when India did very badly all the way from the start of the innings. Everybody's kind of really shocked. There's obviously a lot of comment. There's a lot of criticism. There's a lot of talk about how we have these all-rounders playing. We should go back to specialists, and the first 5-6 batsmen should be specialists, maybe a keeper and 5 specialist bowlers. And there's so much churn and so much criticism, so much conjecture about who should be playing next, because a couple of players will not be, as we know. It's not gone down well. I think only the connoisseurs talk about the fact that, we lost 3-0 against New Zealand as well. But public memory is short. And I think what they're remembering right now is that how could you possibly lose to... I don't think a lot of people are giving South Africa enough respect for being world champions. In India, all the cricket lovers, fanatics almost always think that India is going to win every match. So they go in with that level of expectation. And when there's a loss such as this one, to go, I think, almost 30 years back, at Barbados, India had only 120 to chase. And they got to only 80 and a bit, including Sachin Tendulkar, by the way. So a lot of comment about that match as well, which was largely related to the pitch crumbling in Barbados. Here, too, there's a lot of talk about the pitch. Gautam Gambhir has, of course, suggested that this is what they asked for and the batsmen should be doing a lot better. But yes, it's generated a lot of comment and a lot of criticism, Nikesh.
Yeah, and Jim, South Africa, like Charu said, world champions, winning that World Test Championship at Lord's. But to win their first Test match in India since 2010, they've played 8 there in that time. They've lost 7 and they've drawn 1. How big an achievement is this for that side? Because winning the World Test Championship is one thing, but like that great Steve Waugh side of the late 90s into the early 2000s, India was always seen as the final frontier, wasn't it? How big is this for South African cricket?
Huge, absolutely huge. And India have got to stop preparing pitches that suit their bowling, because it's not working when their batting is so poor. Sharma and Kohli are very badly missed by this Indian side. I don't know what they're doing, fiddling around, but their batting was very poor. Given the pitch was not up to standard, it was going through the top halfway through the first day. And I'll be very surprised if the ICC don't give them a censure for what they prepared. But I admire South Africa, particularly Bavuma's batting in their second innings. He played like we expect substantial Test cricket batsmen to play when it's awkward. We've got too many players now who have been absolutely overwhelmed by the chance to play fruity strokes, reverse sweeps and the rest of it. And they play them in Test cricket when the shot's not really on, I don't think. Anyway, India can only improve, but they'll need to beat this South African team.
Look, Coach Gautam Gambhir has said that pitch was exactly the pitch we were looking for. So, can you blame the pitch, or I guess should the batters, Charu, be better at batting on such surfaces? Do they get enough time on such surfaces? A lot of them haven't played a lot of domestic cricket in the last decade or so. When you look at the more experienced players in the India side, they go from playing limited overs cricket in Australia to all of a sudden playing in a Test match on a pitch like that. Is it so much to do with the pitch? Is there, I guess, a bit of doubt about Gautam Gambhir and his direction that he wants to take this team into? There seems a lot of confusion.
Well, Gautam Gambhir is still protecting or defending the fact that this is the kind of pitch they had asked the curator to prepare. But anyway, a bit of both, Nikesh. Surely better pitches are required for Test match cricket. But also, there's no doubt that the Indians, as you mentioned, most of the Indians who play for the Indian national team don't land up playing too much domestic cricket or red ball cricket at all. So, I mean, there's so much white ball cricket that they play. The Test matches are the oddity. And they showed a distinct lack of patience with the spinners because most of them are just now, their muscle memory is to play the big shot or to keep it going in terms of the scoring. So, yeah, they were found out. I think there'll be a lot of team talk about how, and there's, of course, a lot of conjecture and comment about how the Indians are now not the best at facing spin, which they were a long time back because that was their regular diet. So, yeah, many points to consider. But there's no doubt that there'll be a lot of talk about being patient. This is Test match cricket. We've got only one more. Don't go for the fancy shots. Stay there as long as possible. And just a quick mention of Bavuma. I mean, one of those special Test match players who wins you Test matches, but imagine he can't get an IPL contract. That's the sharp contrast between somebody who can play really good red ball cricket and one who's not really cut out for white ball cricket.
I mean, it's now 4 losses for India in their last 6 home Test matches. Stark contrast to the last 15 years that preceded that under the captaincy of Virat Kohli and later on Rohit Sharma as well. So India with lots of questions being asked. Gautam Gambhir as head coach coming under increased pressure despite winning India, white ball trophies. That pressure is going to mount if India can't sustain that form in Test match cricket. I mean, he's still there for now. There's been talk of maybe splitting the coaching across formats. There's been talk of splitting the captaincy as well across formats. Abhinav Mukund, former Indian opener, has called for that split captaincy as well in the wake of that defeat, just to help somebody like a Shubman Gill with the load that he faces across all 3 formats, because he is in the leadership group, isn't he, of all of those formats. He's been earmarked as a potential white ball captain as well for India going forward. Surya Kumar Yadav, how long is he going to go on for? Shubman Gill is there waiting in the wings. He's in the leadership groups for all of these formats. I mean, do India need to look at maybe that in the coaching setup as well, Charu?
Well, for both, for players as well as coaches. I think there's Rishabh Pant as well, who's ready to take over white ball reins for sure after Surya Kumar Yadav, or in perhaps the ODI format or T20. And Shubman, if he remains the red ball captain, that's fair enough. He's the man who would be king for India. For the moment, I think he's gotten away without too much criticism because he did get injured, cricked his neck. We don't know. It's a bit of a mystery injury, but he didn't come back to bat. Didn't play the hero with maybe a neck brace or whatever to come back and face a few deliveries. But I think there is a case for a different format captains for sure. About the coach, although it makes sense, I'm not so sure. I think Gautam will remain coach in all the formats. In India is not looking for different coaches for different formats. And for whatever's worth, he is the chosen man because he's very close to the disposition. And I think he will, despite the Test match losses, the ones at home really hurt, the ones away maybe a little less so. He'll probably continue unless he decides that, well, maybe I really, I'm not cut out for this, or I should take some kind of an early retirement from the national coaching job, because he'll certainly be a coach for many other franchise teams. But I don't think the disposition is going to or think about getting rid of Gambhir. So he's probably safe for now, unless, of course, there's another massive defeat in the second test, which I'm not so sure is going to happen. I think the Indians will rise to the occasion now. They've been stung a bit because of that first test match.
Finally, on Stumped, the Indian Premier League mini-auction is set to take place next month in Abu Dhabi, but the franchises have now announced their release and retain lists. Perhaps the most surprising is that Kolkata Knight Riders have released all-rounder Andre Russell, who's been with the team since 2014 and helped them to win 2 titles, including in 2024. We've also heard that KL Rahul has said that being captain of an IPL team is harder than captaining at international level due to the number of meetings that he has to attend. Jaru Russell, one of only 2 players in IPL history who scored over 2,000 runs and picked up 100 wickets. Ravindra Jadeja, of course, being the other one. Are you surprised with this decision? I mean, such a long association with that franchise.
Well, there have been others, Nikesh, who've had long associations, but I suppose it's the waning of some level of ability because he still rustled the muscle. He can still muscle it out even on a miss it out of the park. But the last season, if I remember correctly, he got just about 160 runs or so, which was not the kind of match-winning effort with the bat that his team needs. He had 150. He's actually doing a little better with the ball every once in a while, comes and breaks stands. But maybe it's just a question of, well, there are so many other youngsters, Nikesh, and some of them are very good match winners, proven match winners. And also, remember, it's a tightrope walk between two very high buildings about who do we keep, who do we get, what kind of a team do we build, are we in rebuilding mode, are we champions? So I'm afraid Andre Russell has been a sacrificial lamb here because, yes, he's won them many matches, and at times franchises tend to cling on to players who've done very well for them in the past. But they're all getting a little ruthless, if I might say so, and Andre's suffered because of that. But I suppose some other team might want to pick him up in the auction as a late-order match winner.
Yeah, I mean, he's 37 years old. It's, I guess, not old by IPL standards if you're looking at people like MS Dhoni going on well into their 40s. You'd fully expect him to return to the auction, would you?
Yes, I would, because he's still a valuable commodity. It may not fit into KKR's plans, but there are many other teams looking for. The biggest thing in the IPL, well, T20 cricket really, in franchise cricket, is match winners, people who can swing a match around with a quick 14-20. And Russell is still very much that. In addition, of course, he gives you maybe even 2 or 3 overs or even 4 on occasion. One other thing that may hurt people like Russell, not him particularly, is the fact that there's an impact sub now. So all-rounders who can give you 4 overs and, of course, give you a bit of a bat might be a little less in demand than they were in the past. There were very critical elements in a team. Now, of course, well, if you are not an out-and-out batter, then, or an out-and-out bowler, it gets a little more difficult because you come in and bat and you get substituted by a bowler. So you don't really have to be the quality all-rounder, and especially not one who didn't do very well last year.
And now moving on, Sunrisers Hyderabad have confirmed that Pat Cummins is going to be staying with the team and he's also going to remain as captain. So after what KL Rahul has said about the demands of captaining in this particular competition, do you think this is a good move for both parties?
Well, it really is up to Pat to soak up the pressure. But finally, we hear from KL Rahul what I've been saying for very long. And I keep probing various people, captains as well, saying, hey, how is it in the franchises? Do you is there a lot of additional pressure? Is there interference? Is there... And I do remember Rahul also saying something like, or along the lines of, there are too many questions as well. Why did the opposite team score 200? Why did we score only 120? There are no answers, really. We just had a bad day or they had a very good day. But yes, there is inordinate pressure from the franchise owners and the management team as well, because nobody wants to lose. And nobody wants to realize that one team will lose. So it's a pretty brutal environment out there. About Pat Cummins, maybe he's far more mature. Maybe he is from, if I may say so without meaning any disrespect to any other player from India, maybe he's from overseas and doesn't really get questioned that much. And of course, he's a captain of a country as well. So maybe he has a little more respect where he's at right now, and which is why they've continued or agreed to carry on with him as the skipper. But it's also perhaps his personality. I think Pat's a very, very cool guy from what I know. And maybe he takes pressure very easily like water off a duck's back. So good for him. He's a calming force for any team. And I'm quite happy that the team that has him retains him as captain, because that's a pretty wise move.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly got a lot of credit in the bank as a captain, both at international level and domestic level. Lots of silverware in the cabinet, which certainly will help his case. Finally, Charu, Kumar Sangakkara will be returning to the Rajasthan Royals as head coach and director of cricket after Rahul Dravid exited the role. Sangakkara was at the helm from 2021 till 2024, where they reached the final in 2022 and made the playoffs in 2024. Charu, will head coach and director of cricket be too much for Sangakkara? Has he bitten off more than he can chew, perhaps?
Well, I think it's just semantics, just, titles which kind of roll into one another. I'm sure he can look after the cricket angle and be the coach. But the important thing is that, one, of course, Rahul Dravid's case, where he's finally realized maybe looking after a franchise team, and that to T20, is probably not pleasing enough, because if KL Rahul claims that there are questions and there are lots of pressure, let me assure you there's even more on a coach or the coaching staff, because they're supposed to be more responsible than the captain who, in the field could have a bad day or a good day, but what was the coaching staff doing? So Sangakkara might have been a little busy earlier on. He's decided to come back and take this job. It's not new to him. I'm sure he'll handle it gracefully, as he always had all his life, his cricket and his post-cricket life. But, for Rajasthan Royals or any other team, getting a quality coach and or director of cricket is no guarantee for any kind of winning. And Rajasthan Royals have done well, finally in 2024, what they did back in 2008, but it hasn't been the top franchise in terms of winning. So I'm daring to suggest that there'll be a lot of pressure on Sangakkara, and I hope he is ready for it, because as a coach, what do you do except wring your hands and look at the computer outside the field, because it's all happening inside the field. But he's the kind of personality that will not find it difficult to keep the team together and well-oiled.
That's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped. My thanks to Jim Maxwell, Charu Sharma, and to all of you for listening. We'll speak to you next week. Goodbye.